So hello guys, and welcome to another video, and wow, wow, that Pikmin 4 demo was amazing. I definitely recommend checking it out on the eShop if you haven't already. And yeah, it has about 2.5 to 3 hours of content, depending on like how soon you kind of want to finish everything. If you like want to explore more, it will take a little longer, obviously. And then there's also a few other things to explore, but it took me about 2.5 hours to get like the Sparklium requirement and kind of just going through. I don't even think I checked out all of the areas that you could access in the demo. I think there was another cave that I didn't access. Like, I think I checked out 3 of the main caves, not counting the tutorial cave. So I thought that was pretty cool that you could explore a lot of that. You can get a lot of the treasures so far, but I think the main game will have like tons of different treasures in it, which is pretty exciting. And yeah, Pikmin 4 is really shaping up to be the best game in the series, by far. Like, I've played Pikmin 1 and Pikmin 3 Deluxe, and a tiny bit of Pikmin 2. I need to play more of Pikmin 2 before, 4 releases, but yeah, I played through 3 Deluxe and 1, and they're pretty good games overall. But 4 seems to combine, like, a lot of the best aspects of the series. Like, I mean, the core elements from Pikmin 1, obviously, which kind of most of the games, um, kind of bring over, and then Pikmin 2 with the caves and treasures. That's really nice to see that they're implemented here. I haven't played enough of Pikmin 2 to see how similar the caves are or how different they are, but I'm sure there will be like different types of caves or like much longer caves, because the caves in the demo were only 2 sub-levels. So I assume that the caves in the full game will be longer. Well, I mean, aside from those like smaller caves that I found, like other caves that you can find. But then the quality of life things and the user-friendly aspects of Pikmin 3 are here. And even more as well. Like, I'm definitely gonna talk about some of these in a little bit. Like, one of them that I noticed is that if you have Pikmin kind of go onto a certain object to carry it back to the um, Onion in the SS Beagle, which is the thing that collects the treasures, it will put exactly as many Pikmin as it needs. It won't put like excess Pikmin like the older games do. Like, it will just put the exact amount of Pikmin at first, unless you want to like add more to it. But by default, it has the exact amount of Pikmin, which is just really helpful. And it's just really nice that all of these quality of life changes are here. Like, the quality of life changes, they don't even like make the game feel like easier or just like worse like how some games do. They just make the game just feel better, and it feels like you have more control over everything, which is just really good to have in a Pikmin game. Because I feel like in the older games, sometimes it can be a bit clunky, though I don't really mind it that much, but it's definitely good to have more control over everything. But yeah, the first aspect that kind of stood out to me about Pikmin 4 is the fact that it has a hub world. I'm not sure if they talked about this too much in previous trailers, not including the overview trailer, since I actually haven't seen the overview trailer yet. I've just played through the demo. Um, but yeah, it's really cool. You could basically get items and upgrades there. Like, it's really cool. Like, you can collect these different parts, like, called raw materials, kind of scattered throughout the world, and I think you can use them to make different objects. Like, there's like a scientist that kind of crafts certain objects for you when you get these. It's almost like purchasing different things from a store. And then you can also get different items from there as well. I haven't used any of the items yet, except for like the core item with charging your Pikmin. But I think it's really cool that some mechanics will actually be tied to items, which is really cool. Because I think charge was just kind of like a feature that was with the button press before. So it's actually really cool that it's actually kind of locked to a feature, which is pretty cool. So you can equip it and unequip it, and that definitely adds to the amount of strategy and different things in the game, and I really like that. And then there's also the place where you can kind of upgrade Oatchi as well. Like, you can have Oatchi kind of have more strength to be able to carry things, or have Oatchi be more powerful when fighting, or different things like that. I forgot what the other ones were. I think they're like movement speed and different things like that, healing. But it's really cool how Oatchi has like different upgradable abilities. I know they showed it on the direct, but it's just really nice that they implemented that. Um, Almost it's not exactly a skill tree because it's not like I know kind of said that when I was reacting to the direct. It is the same similar concept to a skill tree, but it's you kind of unlock them linear, like in a linear fashion, which is definitely pretty good because you still do have control over what aspects you upgrade first for Oatchi, which is really nice. And it's pretty cool to see that over time you'll be able to have more abilities and kind of go to different places you weren't able to before. Like, it almost reminds me of my playthrough of Pikmin 1 that I just finished. Like, for example, in a certain area, you don't have blue Pikmin yet, but once you get the blue Pikmin, you can go back and do a certain area. This is almost like a more advanced version of that concept, and I really like that overall. And another thing is the treasure collection. They kind of brought treasures back from Pikmin 2, and they basically increased the energy in your ship to be able to go to different places. So I think it's pretty cool that they have that, and I really like how there's like a lot of really unique treasures here. I think I haven't played that much of Pikmin 2, so I'm not really too sure how many like interesting and unique treasures there are, but in Pikmin 4, there's a lot of really cool things. Like, there was like a finger skateboard, a toy train, a magnifying glass, and then the Game Boy Advance SP, which is just really cool overall. Um, I think it's called like the Stone of Advancement because they always have like a funny name for the treasures. But yeah, I thought that was really cool, and I really like how they're handling the treasures here. It's just really satisfying to get like a ton of treasures in one day. I think it's just really satisfying to see that. But yeah, another thing you can do, which is kind of a quality of life update, is move the bases around the map, which is super convenient. Like, the maps here seem to be a lot bigger than they were in previous games. A lot more verticality here. Um, it's not quite open world, but it is kind of like open in the sense where you could basically kind of go anywhere, since there's not really too many obstacles blocking up, well, other than the ones that you have to tear down using Pikmin or Oatchi. But yeah, you could actually jump with Oatchi and ride around on Oatchi, which is really cool, kind of access some different places. There's definitely more verticality here than there were in previous Pikmin games, since there's like hills and different things. Like, in previous Pikmin games, it seemed like there was a little bit of like verticality here and there, but it really seemed like it was mostly flat with the design of everything. But it's really cool seeing like bridges go over like different paths, and like not just like at a very low level, but like way above the path. And it's just really cool seeing different things like that. The worlds are just very dynamic, and definitely have a lot of depth in verticality and space all around them. It's just really cool, and it definitely feels like the proper evolution of Pikmin 3, and I just really like it overall. It just, overall, with this world too, and also the camera angle that you have, it feels like you have more control over everything, which is just really nice. Like, I could definitely see this improving, like, the whole formula a lot. Like, they make it where it kind of combines the core aspects of Pikmin along with, like, elements of exploration as well. So, yeah, I just really like that new camera angle, and I really like the fact that the worlds are just very dynamic and have a lot of things going on in them. And another thing that I kind of noticed, which I think might be specific to, like, the beginning of the game, is the fact that you start off with only, like, 20 Pikmin as your, like, max amount of Pikmin, and then, it kind of slowly expands over time when you unlock more Pikmin types, and also get Pikmin in the caves as well. And I think that's pretty cool, because it kind of teaches you to manage your Pikmin, so you don't just farm a bunch of Pikmin at the beginning and just kind of just blast through everything, it kind of shows you, because, I mean, even for returning Pikmin players, I mean, I've only played 2 of the 3 Pikmin games before, 4, at least mainline games, but I still think it's nice having a system where it kind of expands over time, so it's not too overwhelming for people, like, getting all these different elements and things. Like, even for returning Pikmin veterans and everything, it's still, like, really nice to kind of showcase different things, like, very different mechanics, like Oatchi and different things like that. So yeah, speaking of Oatchi, I think Oatchi is just really cool overall. Like, I already mentioned the fact that he can jump and be upgradable and everything, but it's just a really cool element to the game. It almost feels like an expanded version of, like, the second captain, basically. I know there were 3 captains in Pikmin 3, but, like, Pikmin 2 with, like, Louie, like, I feel like it kind of feels like an expanded version of a second captain, because you can play as Oatchi, though, like, when you play as Oatchi, it doesn't have the same abilities, obviously, with Pikmin. That would be kind of weird, seeing Oatchi throwing Pikmin around, but the fact that Oatchi can, like, manage so much for you and is just, like, really useful overall, like, acts as multiple Pikmin when you're, like, carrying things around, it also acts as a tool for traversal when getting around these largest worlds. It's just really nice, and it's definitely an expanded version, and I feel like really the perfected version of multiple captains. Like, even though Oatchi isn't a captain, it's kind of like a spiritual successor to that concept, or almost like an expanded version or evolution of that concept overall, of having, like, a second kind of playable entity or usable entity along with you. The only disappointing thing about Oatchi is that Oatchi can't be controlled by another player, presumably. Like, I think the second player in co-op only controls, like, the cursor, which is weird. I think controlling Oatchi would make much more sense, since Oatchi can actually do, like, useful things. But yeah, I thought that was kind of weird, but Oatchi is a really cool mechanic. I know some people were iffy about it at first, which is understandable, but it definitely adds a lot to this game. And yeah, so another thing is the caves. So yeah, I did mention, like, the caves are there, and the fact that they were originally in Pikmin 2. But yeah, I just really like the caves here so far. Like, they're, like, multiple caves spread throughout the world. In the fact that the time limit kind of slows down a lot. I know in Pikmin 2, the time stops completely when you're in caves, but I don't really think it matters that much, since time goes by, like, at 1/6 of the speed it does, like, when you're on the surface, which, I mean, it doesn't really matter that much anyway. You'll have, like, an hour to, like, explore these caves if you go in at the beginning of the day. It really doesn't matter that much, because like, every cave that I've went into in the game so far, it's like, when I went in the cave and spent, like, 20-ish minutes in there, the timer on the surface, like, it barely moved. So actually, I don't think it was, like, 20-ish minutes, more like 10 to 15 minutes, I'd say. But yeah, it barely moved when I went out of the cave, so I feel like that's definitely manageable. I do think, like, with larger caves towards the end of the game, it might be a little more difficult if they have, like, very in-depth caves. But with how the caves are so far from what I'm experiencing, I feel like the slow time limit is fine. Like, it makes a lot of sense. And another thing that I can't really comment on yet, because you only have, like, access to 3 Pikmin types in this demo, but it's the fact that in the full game, you'll only have access to 3 Pikmin types at a time, which I think is fine, because you could really just go back to the onion and kind of change your Pikmin type if you need, like, another one. And the fact that you can move the onion and hub around, or the base around, to get the Pikmin is just very useful overall. So I feel like that kind of balances it out. So yeah, I think it's definitely justified to have three Pikmin types out, especially since purple Pikmin in like different things like that, purple Pikmin, rock Pikmin, um white Pikmin, flying Pikmin, a lot of those other interesting types will be in the game. So I think it will definitely balance the game a lot. So you can't really be like too overpowered here. So, and it also helps with like strategy as well, with having a certain Pikmin type out for a boss or something. I think that makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, even though it is a limitation, it's a limitation that makes a lot of sense and kind of helps with the balancing of the game. It doesn't make the game too easy because you already have access to so many quality of life updates here, and you really have so much control over everything here. And yeah, the graphics are another thing that I've noticed are definitely a huge upgrade from the previous games. Because, I mean, Pikmin 3 was originally a Wii game, and that game did look good on the Wii U and Switch, but it's still a 10-year-old Wii U game. I mean, it could only go so far, like one of Nintendo's earliest HD games. So it looks good, but like it's still, it does look a tad dated nowadays in terms of Nintendo standards. But Pikmin 4 definitely pushes the limits of the Switch. I know it uses like Unreal Engine 4, which is like Nintendo usually uses their in-house engines, but I think it's fine in this case because it looks really good. And yeah, it's definitely taking advantage of the Switch hardware and is definitely one of the best looking games on the system because I mean most of Nintendo's first party games, except for Pokemon, that's more of a second party game, but Pokemon's in a weird place. But Pikmin looks excellent. I just really like how it looks overall. And yeah, graphically it looks great. Honestly, it could have used a little bit of a boost from a new Nintendo console. I'm just like, whenever I see a game like Tears of the Kingdom, now Pikmin 4 and Super Mario Bros. Wonder, even though they look great, and I don't really have problems with the graphics at all as long as the art direction is good, and the game at least looks good, it just makes me think, like, it could have, like, there could have been another, like, a Switch 2 or something sometime soon to just push those graphics even more. So it doesn't, so the Switch isn't, chugging along too hard in there. I don't want my Switch to burst in flames when I'm playing, like, one of these, newer first-party Nintendo games due to the fact that they look amazing and are just graphically pretty impressive for the Switch. But yeah, it just makes me wish that Nintendo would release the Switch successor sometime in the near future, because it would be great to see those new graphics, or like some of those graphics in modern Nintendo games be amplified even more, like in 4K and everything. But yeah, so yeah, and then I'll quickly touch on the Ice Pikmin. I don't have too much to say since I haven't been able to really see all of their mechanics, but Ice Pikmin are pretty cool. I really like how they freeze enemies, and I really like how they freeze different things. And with the different walls you use to knock down using Pikmin, there is like a new one for Ice Pikmin where you actually freeze the wall and use like Oatchi to kind of smash into it, which is really cool and is definitely like kind of taking advantage of a lot of the new elements of Pikmin 4. And then they even added like this, like the lava floors that like red Pikmin can take out. I'm not sure if that was in any other game. So it's cool seeing like a wall or an obstacle that that are designed specifically for red Pikmin. So yeah, it's really cool to see overall. And finally, I also like the UI elements as well. You kind of have like a very nice menu, like with a lot of different features on it, and I'll go more into that when I actually play the full game, but I really like it overall. The UI looks pretty nice, has like a futuristic design going for it. I know Pikmin 1 through 3 had more of like a skeuomorphic kind of style, like Frutiger Arrow style to it. And I do kind of miss that style a little bit. I mean, like, Pikmin 4, I mean, there might be some, like, UI elements or some, like, aspects of the game that are kind of similar to, like, that Frutiger Arrow kind of, bubbly aesthetic from the older games. But the new UI, I do think it does look pretty good. It's kind of more, not exactly like a, it is kind of minimalistic, but it's more of like a, kind of like a glass morphism type design, nuomorphism. That's kind of like a newer, kind of a newer design aesthetic that's kind of been popping up in the 2020s. Like, and it's been kind of showing up in some of Nintendo's modern games, like the menu design in Tears of the Kingdom, or Super Mario Bros. Wonder kind of has that aesthetic a little bit. And then also, if you're thinking of like regular operating systems, like Windows 11 and the PS5 kind of have that aesthetic as well. So I see a little bit of that, as well as like a little bit of minimalism in Pikmin 4's UI design. But I like it overall. It's not too oversimplified. I feel like they kind of simplified it enough to where it's still like very functional and still looks good. And it kind of fits the style of like a rescue team kind of thing. So yeah, I like it overall. So anyways, play the Pikmin 4 demo. It's absolutely amazing, and I'm really looking forward to Pikmin 4 overall when it releases in July. So anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server if you want to. Goodbye.